Right.
Yeah, what happened? Was that like, did we plan that, or was it just a thing that happened?
I have no.
it
Yeah,
was planned. I
think
asked
you
you guys a month ago if everyone was cool doing that, because I had something going on last Friday, so I'm like, can we bump it a week? And everyone agreed to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a month apart, so I get that you know.
There's too much shit in my head. I have no idea what. I don't know. I don't know what happens on days.
Fair.
Yeah, like, I don't even know what day of the week it is.
I usually don't.
Oh man.
The thing that sucks is the thing I had planned I couldn't even go to because I caught the COVID for the first time and it wiped me out big time.
That
Oh,
sucks.
nice.
You feeling better?
Yeah, my wife caught it right.
Yeah.
She got over it like right before we went to the music festival, so it like worked out. But like,
right.
Nice.
yeah, like a week and a half before, so.
Yeah, not a fan.
Yeah, I bet.
And it,
I gotta say, this environment runs pretty smoothly on the Quest Pro. Feels pretty nice.
Oh, nice.
We just got our first build in the new area we're working on, and Wookie's gonna take this weekend and try and get this moved over, and then if Cyril has some time, he's gonna help us make it look like it's supposed to, like in his game Shock Troops.
Nice.
Very cool.
And then we'll have grabbable objects and all like nameplates and avatars and all that fun stuff.
Awesome.
Oh, bitchin'. Did you end up buying that one thing off the asset store, like the?
Not yet.
or
We're
whatever?
still. That's like the fourth thing on the list. We're trying to make sure everything else is working first.
Right.
Oh, nice.
I wish I knew more. I'm hoping to learn from this so I can help do things because right now it's just Wookiee and he's busy, so it's tough.
Yeah, I get it. Man, absolutely.
So I think everyone is here.
Yeah. Is Cyril here? Or?
Yep, I'm here.
Yeah, he's sitting right next to me.
There you go.
Oh, you fixed your controller? Nice.
Yeah, I think so. I have two hands now.
Yeah,
I mean, if we can
go.
I have two pills.
Two
Yeah.
pills. Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, so yeah, we kind of were chatting online, or actually it's kind of started with you, Cyril. Like thought we'd chat about the pricing of games and DLC and how you guys as indie devs and single person studios, some of you, like how you decide what to do and where do you feel comfortable and all that fun stuff. So I guess I don't know what everyone's opinion on those are, but
Yeah, I mean, do you want us to get started on this?
yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, well, for us, when we decided for Stones of Alaf, I mean, we kind of like wanted to kind of set expectations. It's kind of like it's kind of interesting because obviously with VR being kind of new, we had no idea how much we needed to price our game to be attractive. Now, so the thing is that I have the feeling that in our pricing strategy, we were kind of like not destructive, but basically we removed, right? We started at a certain price. Oh, that would be nice to sell it at that place. Oh yeah, but it's pixel art. Not everybody's going to like it. So we should remove a little bit of this. Oh, well, it doesn't have like tens and tens of hours of content. So like, and basically we started at an ideal price, and then we kind of like felt, oh, we are going to, we can't compete against that, so we need to price lower, or we can't compete against that, so we need to price lower. And I have the feeling that we ended up, I'm not sure short selling is the good idea. The whole philosophy was like, well, if we are at $9.99, which is kind of like the entry point on the Quest Store, our game is going to be a no-brainer and everybody's going to buy it. But that's kind of not really the case. Like, we sold very well. I'm not complaining about this, but I have the feeling that, like, on Stones of Valhalla, for example, we made a good amount of money, an honest amount of money, but we would not be, for example, able, Simeon and I, to kind of like live on this for a full year. Like, that doesn't compete with our current salary, and so that's the thing. And For Shock Troops, I kind of like took the same approach, and I was like, well, Stones of Alas was $9.99. Shock Troops is a little bit more content, but we are going to kind of like stay there so that the game can go viral. And again, like Shock Troops is selling correctly, but we are kind of like aligned with Stones of Alas, so we are selling a little bit more. I think we are selling a little bit like 20% more than Stones of Alas, but that's not the big explosion that I was hoping. And obviously, when you're selling a game at $9.99. And then you don't have the volume, profitability becomes an issue.
Right.
And so I was kind of wondering what the rest of you guys were feeling like, and did we make a mistake? I don't know. Like that's.
I feel like you could have charged more personally because it's a really good game and it has. I mean, for like a flat game, it would seem like it doesn't have that much content, but like for VR games, like it does have like a lot of like a pretty good amount of content like in it, and I feel like once people are willing to like break the wallet out, like the difference between spending like $10 and $20 isn't like as big as you'd think. Like
Yeah.
because I know on my game too, I'm selling it. Well, Samurai Slaughterhouse, I'm selling for 30, and I had a sale one month where I sold it for like 30% off. So I was selling it for like $20, and I sold significantly more, but I actually still made less that month than like the other months when I was selling it for 30, but selling like less copies. So like,
Right.
I mean, I guess it's still like in development, so people are like, they don't have it. I'm just say like on the content blog, with the content there, they were like pretty happy with it. But I definitely think you could have sold it for more. Like I would have bought it for more personally.
Yeah, and that's a lot of the people that's kind of like what they told us, right? Like a lot of the critics and reviews are like at $9.99, that's a steal. Some people even bought several.
Sure.
But and so I'm kind of like obviously there is a new game in the make, and we are going to target a higher price point because we have a lot more content this time. But I still feel that I have no data, I have no basis to kind of like estimate the correct price, and so I was just kind of wondering what you guys were thinking.
Right. And I think I was a lot like you, Cyril. For me, for our game, like it's $8, right? And we're going to gradually increase the price. And our game very much still like early access. We're still polishing and building and like making it a full experience. But just like you, it was like, okay, what is like an accessible amount of money, right? Like, and not knowing that the game doesn't measure up to other games, like what is a reasonable thing to ask somebody to pay to kind of gamble, right? To like gamble on playing your game. So I get where you're coming from in terms of that.
Yeah, that's exactly. You said it's shorter and better than I did.
You do want to leave room for sales too, though, because if you're gonna have like sales discounts on the game, you want to leave like room for that. Because I think it was Dima was saying that like when like I forget what like a good percentage of your sales will actually come like when your game is on sale. So you gotta like price accordingly, like plan to sell it for a little less than like whatever your normal price is.
Right.
Yeah, we actually considered like when we added the content for Halloween, we considered like should we raise the price now that we have like 4 more levels, 1 more mission, but we decided to stay at the same. And like for example, the Halloween for a few days, like we got a huge uptick in sales, but now we are back at normal. So I would say that I'm not sure that it was completely profitable. Again, like I wanted to do it, Michel wanted to do it, so we are happy with it. But like relying on that content to boost our sales, that's not the results that I would have been hoping.
Right.
In that scenario, what's your guys' opinion? Like, should you have charged like $5 for that new mission, or like how would that affect things?
Well, $5 would be half.
Right,
$5 would be half of our price.
Yeah.
So, yeah. No, I mean, I think the thing is that at the end of the day, we made the game we wanted to make. We love our game. We enjoy playing it. Like, I mean, I play Shock Troops all pleasure. But yeah, it's the thing is that at the beginning, like for Stones of Our Life, as I said, we sold a lot more copy than we were hoping. So we arrived in Shock Troops with kind of like an idea of like what success would look like. And as I said, we are selling a little bit more than Stones of Life, but not a lot more. And so there may be various reasons. For example, Stones of Life is also kind of like a wide public game, like there is not much blood, not much violence. It's quieter, it's RPG, all of those things. But and if the Quest ecosystem was like something like linear, I would not necessarily be wondering, but like with Pico and with like all of those headsets arriving, what we are going to see is we are going to see a fragmentation. So right now, I would say when we shipped Stones of Life, and to a certain extent when we shipped Shock Troops, we shipped on the leading platform. There was nobody else. Like if you play VR, that's most likely you're on the Quest and you're buying Quest games. Next year, it's going to be very, very different. And that means that your game, you'll have to port it to potentially 2 or 3 different platforms, which has a cost, right? I mean, it has it has dev time and dev costs to test it, etc., etc. And so I have the feeling that when we could kind of like not necessarily put that much thought into like the pricing strategy when we had one headset and everybody was on it. I think in the future, well, if you price it that way for the Quest, it needs to be priced the same for Pico and Equi and all of those guys. And so I was kind of like really wondering how you guys were approaching that thing, because I think that in the future, like there will be a lot more thought that needs to go into pricing than I give it.
I actually think I would disagree with you, right? I think parity like makes like theoretically it makes sense, right? But I think back to when I worked on mobile games, like it was a commonly understood thing that like if you release the same app on iOS versus Android, iOS users were willing to pay more money, right? And I would almost say that if you did release, like if you release on the PSVR 2, which I'm assuming you're kind of alluding to, like, somebody who burns lots of money on games in general, I'd buy a VR game at $20, $30 easily, because buying God of War was 60 or 70. Like it's so much, like it's just the ceiling is so much different on console. I think you could get away with charging more than you could on the Quest.
That's pretty true, because even like
for
games,
for PSVR, I agree with you. However, though, for Pico and all of these guys, by contract, they actually ask you to kind of line up your price with other.
Yeah, you're not gonna you're gonna have a hard time getting on a platform with a different price than another platform. Like that's just like that's.
I think that's the case with standalone, but like different things like PSVR or Steam, it's gonna be different.
No, it's not for PSVR either.
It really should be. It really should be.
Yeah, it really should, because that's quite different, I'm sure, to program for, like you're saying. Plus, like that market's so much smaller because obviously it's a new platform, so there's not as many games to choose from. So you should be able to make a little more there.
Well, it's because these the companies themselves want equal competition, right? Like they're not going to want no, it is. I can tell you for a fact. Like they'll want like equal, depending on the types of contracts that you.
Yeah, by contract, they are forcing you to align your price. Right?
Yeah, like I can't, like I have to release all of my game on every single platform at the exact same time for the exact same price. Like I can't do, and the content all has to be content parity as well. You can't you can't have like extra content, that one like console specific content, and that's like. I mean, that depends on the types of deals that you sign, obviously, right? Like if you're, let's say you're an independent, like let's say you're a big studio and you don't need funding from these companies, and you can just be like, yeah, I'm going to release on your platform, and here you go. But yeah, there's no like it's not as simple as saying, here, this is what I want to release the game for, and then them letting you on their platform.
The good thing is right now, at least they're offering like porting fees, so they want games like on their platform. So hopefully that continues, because like you said, that's extra time and stuff. And I mean, for me, it's not too bad because I'm just one person in my studio. But I know Robert said like one company offered him, but he was like, no, I couldn't.
They offered us like $15,000, and it's not enough to cover payroll. for the time it would take. So why would we do it?
You know, it's like I'll talk to you later, dude. But like, someone's gonna do mine for me for not very much money. Like, I'm gonna keep the majority of my porting fees, and someone's just gonna go ahead and do it for me. So like
it would also just take it's longer than just like remapping controls too, though, because like that particular headset was like significantly less powerful than the Quest 2. So it would have taken a lot of work to actually make it work.
And you're having optimization issues.
Yeah, like they sent us dev kits, and it wasn't enough power to run Heartlands.
Just cut the draw distance in half.
I guess we could do that.
We all know how Robert likes his triangles.
It's far too many.
More fog. We just need more fog.
Endless fog.
More fog.
I'm so mad about our triangle counts still. Every time I play Oblivion, I just get more angry that we can't do that on the Quest yet.
I kind of like wish we had post-processing because I seen games and I'm like, damn, the outlines look so nice on that. Like, I wish my outlines could look like that, but like, it's just too much processing.
I mean, you could fake the outlines with materials, but I
have
get
fake
that.
outlines on it right now, but like,
yeah, he already has outlines. What are you talking about?
I get what you're saying, but I also know that they could be better with post-processing, and you can make them thicker and all that.
They could be better. Like, when
I can tell you that Shock Troops with post-processing is a completely different look than without. I wish we had post-processing on Shock Troops.
I mean, at least we get mobile tone maps subpass now, but that's, it's something.
Yeah. To be completely honest, I'm really impatient for them to announce the Quest 3 to have a little bit more power to play with.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I wonder how much power we're gonna have to play with.
I wish there was money in PCVR.
I would guess probably like 60% or some shit like that. I don't know.
So do you guys think it's actually going to be more powerful than a Quest Pro?
The Quest Pro is not that powerful. It's the fucking same.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, it is. It's a totally different chip. We're talking about an XR3 versus an XR2. If you look at traditional phone processors,
what's the price going to be on that though?
That's like probably the same price.
You're still going to have to develop for Quest 2. I have a feeling.
I mean, you don't really have to develop for Quest 1 anymore. So
but that's different. That's like a totally different scenario at that point. Like,
I'm not so sure.
The install base on Quest 1 was like nothing compared to.
I mean, like what our current plan is like we're going to develop our next game with the Quest Pro in mind. And then when the Quest 3 comes out, it should just run like butter. That's our plan, at least. Unless we actually get dev kits for Quest 3 early, which, Meta doesn't love us, so probably not going to happen.
I don't see.
They really like me, and I don't get nothing. So like, don't take it personally. Like they're like, "Hey, Ray, give me a bunch of money," but they still didn't send me a Quest Pro, and it's like, really, you send like the YouTubers a Quest Pro and not me? Thanks
we paid fucking $7,500 for all these fucking things.
Oh, they're not giving Quest Pros to anyone unless unless you're creating an app that's like requires colored pass through. So unless you're like,
I don't have any, but I'm there with you. Like my next game is going to be developed with the Quest Pro and Quest 3 in mind.
Like the extra RAM is like such a huge thing.
I definitely do that.
The extra RAM is enormous.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, I was just saying, if you guess how long it takes you to make your next game, by the time your next game comes out, then Quest 3 is probably like.
Yeah,
that's all you need to worry about.
We're shooting for midway 2024, so it should be.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like we're very much aiming to do like a very quick turnaround after Heartlands. It's like we're hoping to be a Quest 3 launch title.
Wow.
Big plans, but also we can reuse a lot of the framework we already built.
Do you know when it's coming out though?
It's probably coming out in October. Let's be real.
I think it was leaked that it would come in 2023.
I'm pretty sure Meta already confirmed that as well, but they just didn't say when. But they always launch shit in October. October or November.
Always that's a pretty quick return. So you got a year?
We think we can build our next game in like under 6 months because we're going to reuse a lot of the frameworks we already have, but just ripping out a bunch of the stuff. I don't really want to talk about the next game yet. But there's a lot of shit we can do with it. So
very cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I wish
not
you the
exactly an
best,
expansion, kind of like an offshoot
best
kind
of
of
luck.
game. Kind of like how Fallout New Vegas and Fallout 3 is basically the same fucking game with different assets.
Cyril, how long did it
So-
take you to make shock troops with your small team?
Well, so it depends on if you count the. So when I make my games, there is always two phases. There is a phase where I work on it, where I work on it alone, and I develop a bunch of maps. I develop the look for the game, and I usually create like a whole bunch of levels. I mean, you saw on Twitter, for
watching
example,
you do it right
like
now.
yeah, exactly. And so these I'm doing it alone. And so for Shock Troops, I had like a pre-production period that lasted I don't know, maybe like 4 months. But for the development, the moment I started working with Michel, we did it a little bit under a year.
Nice. Yeah,
I think it was 10 months.
10 months.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
Nice.
sick.
Yeah.
That's a sick
That's
turnaround
good.
time.
Yeah.
That's
Well, I
nice.
mean, for Stones of Olaf, it was about the same. We did it in 11 months.
Nice.
Wow.
Nice.
Very good.
Yeah, that's sick.
And Shock Troops, the Go version was done in 5 months. And I worked alone on it after that, and then the Rift version was done in 6 months. So I'm always trying to kind of stay under 1 year, but the next game is going to be more. I've actually budgeted a year and a half of development time.
Nice. That's what I was wondering. Yeah, so the next thing I was going to ask, how long you think you're going to spend on this next one? Because it seems much bigger in scope.
Yeah, well, I mean, and the thing is that the next one I'm trying to not go at it alone. So I'm currently discussing with some people to fund it, and so that means that it is definitely a lot more ambitious. So therefore we need to spend more time. And I had a call a few days ago where they were mentioning PSVR and stuff like that. So
very cool.
Yeah, that's like it definitely should release on that platform for sure.
Yeah, I mean, alone, I would not think of it because I don't think that Sony is particularly indie friendly. But with a publisher, with a publisher backing, that's a different story.
Yeah, like with a publisher backing, that makes the QA for those devices way faster.
Yeah,
because like you have to go, you'll have to pass QA for all that, and doing that by yourself would be like miserable.
Yeah,
like
and
just doing the quest alone was like.
I mean, I know. I mean,
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's and then and the beauty of this is that both Michel and Simeon are busy right now porting Stones of Olaf and Shock Troop to other headsets. So we'll be present on other machines. So while they're working on that, I'm kind of doing all the R&D for the next game. So there is no really time wasted there.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
How does honest, I'm starting to get a whole bunch of content.
Yeah, that's great. I'm so pumped.
you're like smashing through. Like I'm a little jealous. I was like,
because that's the thing when you work alone, you don't have to. I mean, you can go faster.
Yeah.
There's no one saying, "Hey, fix that."
Yeah.
Also, I'm curious about when we're talking about pay and pricing and all that. Like, obviously, like there's like Robert's got a team and there's different setups, but also like when you're planning a year versus like maybe it's it's going to take 2 years, and like how do you factor in all those different things? Because like Cyril, like you said, it's kind of more of a passion thing where you can't make as much as you do at your day job, but obviously it's your passion and you want to do it and you enjoy it. So how all that has to play into it. But
well, to me, the thing is that I don't pay myself, obviously, but I do pay my programmer, so I do that out of pocket. But it's usually at a preferred rate because they get 50% of the sales. So it's more kind of like a thing to kind of show them that I'm ready to take a risk to develop the game and kind of like get them on board. But yeah, no, I mean, and well, people that work with me know I'm a fierce guardian of deadlines. I hate being late.
Right.
I absolutely hate being late. My students know that about me. Like everybody that knows me knows that it's like I'm like a Swiss clock. So that means that we scope. We decide, okay, we are going to spend a year, and we scope for a year. And I know my velocity. Usually, the people I work with, I know their velocity. And so, in both the case of Stones of Alaf and Shock Troops, we actually for Shock Troops we actually finished a little bit earlier. Same thing for Stones of Alaf. We finished a month earlier. So
That's awesome.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it helps. It's just there's so much to pack into
I don't know how
the
you
price.
can budget like time that well. Like
Well, I
we're
mean, if you
always
know-
we're always running so fucking headlong into deadlines.
If you work with people that you know their velocity, it's not too bad, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is that-
consistency is difficult though.
Well, but see, this is the beauty of like a small team is that when you have only two people working on it, I mean, I know my velocity very well. I've been making games for 20 years, so I know how fast it takes me to do stuff. And I've worked with Simeon before. I've worked, and I plan everything. You know, I keep track of my deadlines. I keep track of my deliverables and things like that. But when you're working with two people, and there is a slight delay, it's a slight delay of 1% or 2%. So when you're having a team of 8 people, potentially you multiply that delay potential by 8 people. So the more people you work with, the more it kind of compounds, and it becomes much harder to predict. But I think
I've definitely noticed that we have 7 people, and sometimes it's a bit much.
Yeah.
Half my team got COVID one time, and and that was quite the fun experience. I mean, we always leave like we always budget like a 30% extra just for cases like that.
Yeah.
So
I always have a 30% padding as well.
So there's also here's the trick to that padding though, is that you need to factor in your milestones with that as well, because like when you're budgeting, when you're pitching to publishers, like you give your publisher a certain amount of money, like here, this is how much I can make the game for if you give me this much. But you need to take into effect with that padding or whatever is that you're not going to get $500,000 in one go, right? You're going to get 30. You're going to get like 30,000 or 25,000 in every month, right? So you need to make sure that. So you probably want to inflate your cost to make up for the milestones.
Well, which is not really on the financing part, but also all my milestone. I always have two milestones. I have an internal one and an external one. So the internal one is the milestone that we hit for us, and the external one is the milestone that we meet for the publisher or for Oculus or things like that.
Very smart.
And so usually there is 2 weeks. Usually there is 2 weeks difference between the internal milestone and the external milestone. And I usually have like a code freeze and a content freeze for every milestone. So it's like we stop bringing new content in, and then we fix everything, we debug. So that way, when we go to our publisher or when we go to Oculus to show them the milestone, we have something that is, I'm not going to say perfect, but in a working order.
Yeah, that's.
I would really like for us to be able to get to that point eventually. Like we're all like when we launched the 2.1 demo, we were programming like full on up until like 6 hours before launch. Fucking terrifying.
That's very dangerous. That's very dangerous.
Yeah.
Because potentially you can launch with bugs, and then if we launch with bugs, then like the players that you code, then they are gone. Like. Yeah, it's very difficult to make a second impression. To me, like that kind of like internal versus external, it's kind of like it's a Bible. Like, and that's even my internal have padding, and so the beauty of this is that if something goes wrong, there is the padding of the internal plus the 2 weeks difference. So that gives me usually enough time to kind of like compensate in case something unexpected happens.
Yeah, that's a sick way to approach things. Like I think that's perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
You should come be my project manager, Cyril. Come manage my project for me.
Maybe one day.
Oh man, yeah, I'm impressed. Like finishing a game a month early, like that's unheard of to me, right? Like, and it's very impressive that you could do that, but I don't think I've ever like that. That's impressive. Yeah,
yeah. I don't think I could ever plan that well. I don't think
Right.
I'm not dead. I'm not experienced.
finishing.
Cyril's got experience. He's
Oh, sure.
I like the hardest thing is like
right.
keeping the scope from like expanding.
The thing is that finishing, you know, like when I'm saying finishing, like we were content complete and we had all the systems, but then we spent the time that we had left. We did not sit on our hands, right? We spent it kind of like fine tuning some things, etc. But basically, yeah, like the delivery was kind of like done. You know.
Right.
I mean, the thing is that to me, here is the thing, because these are like passion projects, and I have a full-time job and things like that. The thing that cannot happen is that I cannot let these games stress me out. Like that can't happen. Like there is enough stuff for me to deal with on a daily basis that like making the game needs to be a pleasure. So that's why like I always play it safe.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know how you manage teaching and then also doing that. It just seems it's like a lot of work.
Well, I don't have kids, so I work all the time.
Okay. Well, that's not bad. Yeah. Then you get your free time. You got your free time.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, during the moment I make a game, I watch very little TV. Like I spend a lot of time in front of my computer.
Yeah.
For
I
sure.
don't spend a lot of time doing anything else other than I don't really play any games at the moment.
Yeah.
Whenever I play a game, I feel like I could be making my own game right now instead.
Yep.
Yeah,
I'm absolutely shared. Yep. 100%.
Yeah, I'm just like, I'd rather be working on my game. I'd rather be doing that. Yeah.
Or you're not enjoying it because you're playing it, but you're kind of looking, like for example, like Doom, for example, during shock proofs, like I would kind of go there and kind of like really look at how they did some things.
Yes.
And
Right.
it's research, right? It's research.
Yeah. Every VR game I buy is for research purpose. Like I'll go and like look at their tech art and be like, how did they do that? And I'll go recreate it.
Every time I play Beat Saber, I'm always looking at like the backgrounds. And I'm like, I like how they like subtly indicate movement without there actually being motion.
Right.
Yeah. Tough. Yeah. What do you guys do for fun then?
More work.
Working is fun. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
it is. Right? I mean,
it's fun.
Yeah, I have endless fun working on my project, so I don't get burnt out yet. So it's just like a.
I got to bounce early today, guys. Go out to dinner, but I'll see you guys next time.
All right, bye. Yeah, later, Justin. Have a good one.
Bye.
That was short. Oh man.
Yeah, the thing is that with the quick turnaround, that's also the other positive aspect of it is that, like, if I was working on Shockproof for 2 years, I think I would be burnt out on it. But because it's short enough, it's like, oh well, now I get to do like fantasy, and it's kind of refreshing.
Sure.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Right.
So I know Robert's
Like for example,
schedule, but what do you guys all work like hours in a day? Like, is it a normal? Since this is like if your side job, is it like Robert's over here doing like 23 hours a day, so that's not good. But
my record so far was 25 in a single shift. So
Bro, stop! Don't do that.
Nope.
You'll find me dead at my keyboard eventually.
No, dude, no. I mean, you're still young. I guess you can kind of goof around, but
I'll probably be fine.
I mean, I did that shit in college all the time.
To me, it's usually usually it's between per day it's between 6 to 8 hours.
Yeah.
And
that's on top of
the job.
Top of teaching. Yeah, that's on top of your teaching, right? Yeah.
I don't sleep much, so I only sleep 6 hours. So that's also giving me.
That's not bad.
No, yes, 6 hours to me is the sweet spot.
8 hours is too much for me. Like I feel like shit when if I sleep that long.
Yeah.
5 to 6 hours is my sweet spot.
Yeah, six hours to me is perfect. So that means that it allows me, for example, to like come back from teaching, take a break, then work till midnight, for example.
Yeah.
And then kind of like go to bed. I wake up at 6 every day because I teach at 8. So I teach the morning, and I finish usually at 1:42, and then I'll put a little bit of work. There is obviously the grading and preparing classes, etc. But then during the weekends, that's where I can put like I don't know, like I can sink like 16 hours in one day. Just working that's why I really enjoy the weekends, because I can get like a lot of work uninterrupted. And that's usually when I do my best work. It's like when I can work long hours without stopping.
Yeah, that's I'm the same. Like if I don't, but right now I don't. My team is so big that I don't really get to do anything other than stuff for the team or whatever. But on the weekends, no one bothers me, so I get to like work endlessly.
Yeah,
it's much more fun.
Yeah, it is.
But I think I probably put in about 16-ish hours a day, I guess, overall, just because I'm like, I wake up, I have the first half of my day is like meetings with various companies or like my team, and then playing what they've done the day before or whatever, and then giving them feedback on the state of the game, and then I'll go in and do some work on myself, just make stuff, and then my team in Asia wakes up like at 7 p.m. and then I have to meet with them and talk about stuff. So I'm pretty much just working from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed. I'll take like a nap sometimes if I have to, or like just a long lunch break. But I pretty much working.
I take a nap. I think naps are amazing.
Yeah, naps
like
are the best.
20 minutes, 20-minute nap. It will re-energize you.
Yeah. Don't go too much further than that, because then you'll wake up sleepy. But yeah, I'm always taking power. I'll take a power nap between teams waking up. So
yeah, that's usually what I do. Like when I come back from teaching, I do a little bit of like work, and then before I start working, I take a 20-minute nap. And it's kind of a way to reboot my brain.
Yeah, same. That's what I always say. It's like I need to reset my brain, because like if I just stay awake,
I gotta find a way
trash.
to do that. Like I can't take naps. It just doesn't work. I end up falling asleep for like hours.
Set an alarm.
Well, I'm lucky enough that if I lay down, I usually fall asleep within the next 5 minutes.
Yeah, I can't do that either. I'm always like awake for. I just get anxious. Like I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take a nap for like 20 minutes, and then I'm laying there for 30 minutes looking at the ceiling, and then I'm angry and annoyed that I could be working instead.
I think for me though, I've turned sleep into a form of escape. So it's like, instead when I'm anxious, I can just fall asleep because I'm like, I'm getting out of here.
I'm afraid of sleep, so that doesn't work for me. I just get more anxious.
That sucks. I would be miserable if I couldn't fall asleep instantly. I'd be like, nah, this is the worst.
Sleep makes me have all kinds of crazy anxiety.
Damn.
I hate it.
Rip.
I'll look forward to never having to sleep. If we like have a pill or something like that, I'll take it. Fuck that.
That's crazy.
Same thing with food. I hate food.
You hate food? What?
It's a waste of time.
What?
No.
What's wrong with you?
Like, no, don't get me wrong. I enjoy food that tastes delicious. I did not get this fat from not eating, okay? But I understand it's a waste of time and effort and money. I fucking hate it.
But it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure,
baby. That's
right.
I live to eat, man. Everything I do is motivated around food. If I make money, that means I can spend
Yeah, we got
more.
different priorities, man.
Even your game is about food.
Yeah, even my food is about. Even my game is about food. Like I just want to. All I want to do is like move to Japan one day and just eat food all day long. That's it. All my money is going to go to food. I don't need anything else.
Like when I got COVID, that was the only thing that bothered me. I lost my taste and my smell.
I would die.
And I instantly became depressed because I heard all these people say like it doesn't come back for a year. Yeah, and that's the only part of it that really, really bothered me.
That would be
scary.
Did you get it back yet?
Yeah, that would make me miserable. I wouldn't want to live. like that.
Yeah, I think I'm about 80% back to normal with that, so that's good.
Oh my god!
But
Yeah, I get it.
I haven't been that depressed in like decades. Like
Yeah.
instantly, like I just sat on the couch. I'm like, I don't give a shit about anything right now.
Oof. Oh, that's
sucks.
miserable, dude. Oh my god. I'm so glad it didn't
Yeah.
happen to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I guess I guess Robert, you'll be fine with COVID.
I'm very clean and also don't go outside, so I don't think I'm going to get COVID.
Damn.
Well, I am too, but I also work, with a team. Like,
Yeah,
at a
you have
job.
one of those quote real jobs.
Real job.
normal jobs.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan. Trust me.
Tough.
Oh, my game is about to go into alpha finally.
That's
pretty
fucking awesome.
excited. Pretty excited. We you can play the entire game now from start to finish.
That's
So
fucking
when
awesome.
are you shipping?
Yeah, and it's also our 1 year anniversary of production, so that's also fun.
Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, we didn't really.
So
ramp up on
when
the
are you
programming
shipping?
side. Hopefully in April or May or June, and that's our 3 month.
Okay.
And whatever window, whatever that works out best.
So I'm not sure if it's still valid and things like that, but I really, really enjoyed shipping in June for Stones of Our Life because there was practically no one.
Yes.
Yeah, no competition.
Yeah, that's our plan too, because even Meta recommends releasing during that time as well.
Interesting.
There's like when you release on the platform, they give you like a window of time to release when they think that your game is going to like do the best or whatever, and you have to like, because like they have to put you through their QA process or whatever, so like you have to like they have to it has to be on schedule and stuff, right? So you get that window.
They have 10 weeks of 8 weeks of QA. And 10 weeks leading to it.
Yep. So you've got a window that you need to hit. Yeah.
So, but with you, are you going to go in QA because like Endreams is taking care of your QA, right?
Well, yeah, but we still no matter what, you still have to do the Facebook
but not the
one.
I mean, not the 8 weeks. You're going to do the 2 weeks one, right?
Yeah. I think because we have the whole team, the QA team or whatever, at Endreams. So.
With us, they booked us. We got the same people making QA for Stones of Our Life. I mean, I actually requested them because I really enjoyed working with them, and they were awesome. Like they were really, really nice.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it because like I like polishing the game, so I like fixing whatever little wild things they find.
That's a fun thing to do.
Yeah. Because that's what we did this last week was just we just spent time polishing one of the quests or whatever, just to get a better idea of what close to finished thing would look like, and it was nice. It was really fun. Because currently, like we've basically been just blasting out the game's narrative. Because our game is like this is not official. No one quote me on this in the future. but our game has like the first half of the game was like almost 4 hours of like narrative content.
That's great.
Nice.
And that was like. And we've just been putting that into like we've created this crazy AI that like plops all of our game, like our narrative, like our dialogue and narrative stuff into the engine or whatever, and then we just have to like hook up some points in the map. And so we've just been dumping the game's narrative into the game for like months now, and so we're finally at the fun part. Yeah, I haven't played through the whole thing yet, so I need to go sit down and play and see how long it takes me. But I'm kind of afraid because of how long it's going to take to play through it. So I'm like,
But you
like
can save, right?
Yeah. So I can say, we've got it set like an auto checkpoint system. Like once you get past like a certain narrative.
Do you have cheat codes?
Cheat codes? Well, no, not ones that we like. We don't need to implement any cheat codes yet on the quest. Like we haven't been needing to like do it on the quest or whatever.
So I'm going to tell you a secret. Short Troops has like the cheat codes are still in. So that means now they are very complicated to activate. So only you would not step on them. But this is a blessing because even after shipping, like I'm glad that if I need to test something and things like that, I can like swiftly go from one level to the next, or like trigger invulnerability or kill all the enemies or stuff like that.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. We have we technically have cheat codes for the flat version of the game. That's like you can press a single button to win a mini game or whatever. So we have some stuff like that.
I mean, I don't know the particularities of your game, but that's an advice I would give to anyone. It's like make sure that you have cheat codes in your game because during QA, and for that matter, the people at QA were super happy that we had them because it allowed them to test a lot more cases a lot faster.
For our game, it's really important to be able to load into a single like quest or whatever, and just be able to activate that instantly. So we do have stuff like that already. But my games doesn't really. I don't know cheat codes. There would be like cheat codes, like I guess fast travel, like just a whole bunch of like get you places quicker, or because like I don't have combat or anything, right? Or
no, but you have like quests that require a certain amount of components and stuff like that.
Exactly. So then you can have like an autocomplete for those, right? So
yes,
yeah. So that's what we do have. We do have stuff like that. So
okay.
But yeah, I didn't think about giving that to QA though. That's a good tip. That's a huge. I didn't even think about keeping that for QA.
Oh yeah, when we were on QA, we actually had a panel during the pause menu that was specially for them that would kind of like allow them to kind of like do some stuff that
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely do that because that's.
So see, I have an example. Like each of our characters, each troops have a particular ability that recharges over time. And they really wanted, like we have a dash ability that had at the beginning when those abilities we brought them super late in the game. And so because I usually do all the testing, but we were not able to kind of like test them super properly because they arrived very, very late. And so we realized that our dash, there were many things where it would allow you to kind of like dash through geometry or dash to your death and things like that. And so basically what QA did is like they overused the dash by using a cheat that we gave them that basically made the reloading of the ability instant. So that allowed them to kind of test like our dash in all the possible configurations instead of having to wait for it to reload. So like little things like that make it like a lot more efficient.
That's great. Yeah. I'm definitely gonna keep that in for Q. I don't know why I didn't even think about that, but I'm sure someone on my team thought about it already, but I didn't think about that. We're gonna do so. Another weird thing about the release of my game is like kind of I don't want to release the game without voice acting or whatever, and we're like meeting a big company in Japan about getting the voice acting done or whatever, and so like that's the only thing that I think that would delay my game at all would be just getting the voice acting done in time for release. I mean, it's only going to take a month to record it or whatever, but there's a lot of like stuff setting up the contracts with all these different like anime voice actors and things like that. That's going to like take time. So hopefully it all works out, but that's a big thing. Because our game is like there's so much dialogue. It's like each quest takes about like 20 minutes to complete or whatever, and it's really heavily dialogue focused stuff. And you could what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, so what we did is we made we ran our entire script through an AI to do all the voice acting. So like so we can just swap the files once we get the files on it. We can automatically swap the files. Once we get them from the voice recording, so it shouldn't take too long to implement. But
that's clever. For short troops, we actually use AI.
Me too for GBF.
I mean, if it works, it works. Like I definitely it changes the way the game feels by 100%. Like if you actually have voice acting in VR, it's much more powerful than like without having it. Right. You got a bunch of voice acting, don't you, Robert?
Yeah, we do. Yeah. All the bandits are voiced. All the characters will eventually be all voiced. It's a whole lot.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.
But so Robert, how do you finance yours? Like, do you have like an external like how do you answer yours?
It's kind of a longer story, but like when I finished Medieval Designer, this guy that I knew that I wrote software for a long time, he was like, "Wow, this is awesome! You do this as one person. What if you had like a team?" I was like, "I don't know. I can make something much larger." And he was like, "Come to me with some kind of budget, I guess." And so I did that, and it was way too fucking large. So we scoped down a lot, and scoped down more, and scoped down even more, and then I hired a couple people, and now we're here.
Nice.
I mean, so we don't have a lot of money, but it's enough to pay us to do this full time.
Mm-hmm. Very cool.
That's all it takes.
Yeah, I mean, I wish we had more money and more people, but yeah, I mean, hopefully Heartlands does amazingly well, and then we can do other big things. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy where we're at.
And so what? Because if I understand correctly, we are going to be competitors.
It seems like I don't know. Would you consider your game what kind of RPG are you going for?
It's going to be like Skyrim.
Really? Yeah, we're really going to be competitors then. Yeah, that's interesting.
The first competitor.
Easy.
Step back.
I mean, it's going to be like Skyrim Light, obviously, right? But yeah, it's going to be like Skyrim, Morrowind.
Yeah, that is my whole genre. So you got some competition, buddy.
So wait, the difference, the big difference between Skyrim, or for that matter, Oblivion, Morrowind, and Skyrim is that our game has tons of different locations. So basically, it's kind of like a collection of like each island has a different vibe.
Sure.
All the stories are going to be kind of connected, but they are all kind of going to kind of like have a different vibe to them. So I guess in that respect, but yeah, there is a lot and magic. There is going to be a lot of magic. So think of like Stones of Alaf. Basically, it's going to be the game we wanted to make with Stones of Alaf, but without pulling off. So like the rune casting is going to be back, but better. But you're going to be able to craft your own spells by having like components and things like that. So
yeah, that's quite outside of the kind of thing we're doing. Like Heartlands is very much kind of hub-based open world. So like, you have this giant city, to explore and stuff, and you can go inside all the buildings, every single one of them. They all have interiors and they're all decorated, all that kind of stuff, all kinds of NPCs, all that. But then like when you like go to do a quest, when you leave the city, it like teleports you to that location to do the quest, because we can't really do a giant open world like I would want to. We just don't have the time or money to actually handle it. The original design called for 6 square kilometers of an island, but we couldn't do that. And we're not doing like spellcraft or anything like that. We have like weapon repair, weapon armor repair, potion crafting, magic, and weapons and stuff like that.
I think that mine is going to be a lot more like high fantasy, whereas yours is maybe low.
It's a bit more grounded.
Kind of more grounded, yeah.
A bit more grounded. Although we did recently do our story teaser, and as like this big demon things popping out of portals and stuff. So
Well, that's Oblivion there, right?
Yeah, very much. Yeah, Oblivion is the game that I've based my entire life around, basically. So definitely Oblivion. Not Demos style portals, obviously, because I'm not as good of a tech artist as him. But
But for me, like I see the next game as more kind of like a single player VR version of World of Warcraft.
There you go.
Yeah, see, I can't stand.
That's what it looks like.
I can't stand MMOs, so you can have that.
No, it's not going to be an MMO.
It's a single player though. It's not like,
I got that, but like World of Warcraft, I really hate in general. So
what?
You can have that.
I love World of Warcraft.
But I cannot wait to play it. And also, I'm very curious how you're designing a bunch of your stuff, because we're both using Unreal. We just recently ran into a problem with the references.
No, I'm using Unity.
Yeah, he's a Unity. Cyril's a Unity man.
Oh yeah, I'm Unity.
Are you serious? Ew, gross.
He's a Unity. Johnny's like, heck yeah, Unity, high five, Unity.
Yeah. Woo.
How gross.
Unity.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
I work with Unreal at school because most of my students use Unreal, and so like all the games that they make in my studio class are on Unreal, and some of them have made VR games. And I would say that I think that Unity is better for VR than Unreal. Unreal is better for like AAA stuff like that, but particularly for mobile VR, Unreal has some like.
It's all about how you optimize it. Clearly, I mean, we had this conversation before. Like the guidelines are like, oh, don't go over 170 draw calls, you'll fucking die. But we're to do like 700 to 900, and we're fucking fine.
So like the island that I posted today, it's all under 100 draw calls.
Hell yeah,
that's impressive.
That's awesome.
Just like a lot of very large geometry pieces. Stuff like that.
It's just everything is at last. So basically, that whole island, not counting the terrain, because the terrain is the Unity terrain, so it's a flat map. But every other building, the rocks and things like that, it's on only two materials. I have two textures.
That's awesome.
For the whole island.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, we're doing something very similar. Like, I created a tool in UE4. The UE5 version is gonna be better, but it can take any number of objects you have and harvest all the materials and merge everything down, and it creates like a texture array instead of an atlas. So we can maintain all of our texture sizes, and then it produces one big material that everything can use, and then you can merge it. So our whole town went from 2,000 draw calls down to 200 or something like that.
But even 200, I'm still. But you said that you were unlit, right?
Yeah. Unlit is the magic fucking bullet for getting good performance in VR, in my opinion.
Yeah, I just could not deal with unlit because to me lighting is such an important part.
Then you can fake so much good shit with use a reverse Fresnel effect to darken materials off axis, and then you can do the whole capture component thing to fake shadows, and it works fine.
Yeah, it's not for the type of graphics that
stylization.
I really rely on. See, for example, look at this that setup. Doesn't look great because it's missing the lighting. But with lighting, it looks a lot better. And the short troops, if you look at the trailer, lighting is
lighting is
90%.
important in something like that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, lighting. I would rather have a larger world with much more detail and interactability than have a world that is covered in shadow and stuff. We can still do a day-night system just fine. Just darken all the materials.
When I'm talking about lighting, I'm not necessarily for example, I have a thing where it's I never have full black in any of my games. I want, even in the shadows, you to be able to see the textures and things like that. But it's more about the variation of light intensity. But yeah, I mean, it's a different approach, and that's the thing. Because of the stylization that I use, lighting is extremely important. I would say that. For example, if you look at Skyrim and if you look at Oblivion, the lighting is pretty abysmal.
I mean, Oblivion's big thing was high contrast and huge HDR saturation, which is a look we really want to try to go for, but we can't because of Quest hardware. We're saturating things very as much as we can, and there's only so much we can do. But the fun, Oblivion doesn't have dynamic shadows either. They have dynamic character shadows, and then they have the fake decal tree shadows that we've kind of recreated, even though we're in forward rendering, using a transparent volume that ignores depth and all that. And it works very well, but you can't have more than 2 of them in an area or it kills performance. But there's all kinds of crazy tricks from decades ago that work just fine.
I just use vertex colors,
Yeah, my entire system that I talked about completely takes all of our vertex stuff, so I can't do that, unfortunately.
Oh.
Yeah, my entire tool that compresses all the materials down and strips out the textures and recreates this big thing. It paints the actual vertices different colors on a scale based on the number of materials there are to give you a value that you can then use as a lookup to get the texture out of the array inside the material.
I do that same thing with use a texture sheet that's basically UV coordinates.
Yeah, you can do it with you can do with custom primitive data. Did we just lose him?
Yeah, it's kind of out.
Huh. I think he's talking about using custom primitive data and atlasing to do the same thing. Which we could do that too, but you can't fit 100 textures into a texture atlas without it looking like ass. Or looking like pixel art, obviously, which is fine, but
So did we lose? Oh shit! we lost another one.
I keep crashing. I just keep crashing.
Did we lose Johnny too?
Maybe.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think we did.
You were talking about you're talking about texture atlases, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so using a texture atlas and using different UV layers to provide in different, or even custom primitive data, you could do the same thing.
Yeah.
But the whole problem with that is you can't create, or you can't shove 100 textures into a texture atlas and still have it look good. unless you're doing something very stylized, which we're not. That's the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we need like these, like our texture arrays are like 100 megabytes.
Well, no,
each.
I mean
They're very large.
it doesn't change the texture itself.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're fitting like you can't fit 100 textures into one like 4K texture, right? As like an atlas, it doesn't.
Well, no, it's not an atlas. It's not an atlas.
It's an array.
It's an array. It just.
Oh, so you're also using arrays then?
But it's just using UV coordinates. So I still have my vertex data because I use vertex offset for all my animations and stuff.
Right. Yeah.
It's the same thing you're doing.
Yeah,
it's just with
it is.
Well,
the thing
you
just have to like export out and assign them inside of like a 3D modeling program versus mine, which is just all automated. It just does it and take the I lose vertex, but I save time.
Yeah, but you're still limited by the amount of memory though, because you still have to load all of those textures in memory.
Yeah, you still have to, that's a huge. We ran into that problem where
at one point, one of our texture arrays was like 600 megabytes. A huge problem. Huge fucking problem. But yeah, I mean, we've since solved that by like breaking things up and loading things manually and stuff like that. But yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
Super exciting stuff. I love graphic stuff like this.
Yeah.
Figuring out better ways to render things.
Serial, what kind of filtering do you use in your do you just turn off like what do you do for make your textures all nice and crisp? You just you don't use mip mapping or anything, or?
No, I do use mip mapping, but I turn off all the other, so there is no anti-aliasing.
Okay.
And all the other filter, it's basically the point filter, like the point. In Unity, it's called point. So that means that my textures don't get. They are imported at. So all my textures, so here is the thing. I atlas all my textures on a 2K texture. So I'll pack as much as I can, and that's why like sometimes I have entire levels on just one big 2K texture, and sometimes I need 2 or 3 because the level is big or I have too much variety, and so I need more. But that's what kind of allows me to kind of like keep that. But for the first time, for that dwarf island, for the first time, normally I'm super anal about texel density. So like the value of a pixel is the same everywhere. But because
I still have no idea what the fuck a texel is. I didn't go to college for this like you guys.
Well, it's the whole idea that. The whole idea is that basically
I make things and they work.
I mean, are you interested? Do you want me to tell you?
Yes, please explain.
Okay. So the whole idea is that let's imagine that you have look at those chairs, for example, right?
Sure.
When you're going to unfold their UVs, you're going to unfold them at size. And then look at that table, and then you're also going to unfold the UVs of that table. Well, you need to keep the proportions of the UV between the table and the chairs the same, so that the value of a pixel on the chair is exactly the same value of a pixel on the table. If you start resizing your UV of your table, then your pixels are going to be bigger, and so you're going to. Yep.
Oh, sorry, Cyril. So how do you go? You should finish your explanation first. Sorry, I have a big question to ask.
So basically the whole idea is that keeping the texel density is to make sure that the value of a pixel across all your objects that are atlased is about the same. And to me, that's been a golden rule, but that's a rule that I'm starting to change. Like, for example, for the dwarf island, I already have 2 different texture sheets, and I have very, very large rocks. And so I just agreed that my rocks are going to have a different texel density.
That's what I was about to ask. That's what I was about to ask.
So my rocks, for example, are way more pixelated than the rest of my level because I did not want it to bring a third material. And the reason why is because the island is pretty big. And so therefore, when I bake my lighting, I have about 10 light maps that are baked together. And all of those light maps create additional drawcalls. And so if I bring another texture sheet, I'm going to up my drawcalls, and I'm really trying to stay under 100 drawcalls. So that's the reason why basically I was like, you know what, fuck that, the rocks are going to be more pixelated, that's fine, people won't mind.
Because I was going to ask, how do you handle, because like I'm getting into the scenario, because I'm like you, I also want to maintain since mine's not pixel, so I'm not doing like pixel art, right? But I still want to maintain my visual texel density and not just like the actual textures. but, because like how much detail an object has on it based on its scale, right? Compared to everything else. And
two things, like, so for some, I just accept that they are going to be at a different textile density. I just make sure that they are like the rocks. It's fine because it's the rocks. Like these are not things that you're going to look at with intent. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that if I know, for example, that I'm having a very high tower, I'm going to build it with modularity, and I'm going to stack modules so that I can kind of like UV unwrap those modules while keeping the proper textile density. So for buildings, for example, I kind of piece them into modular kit elements that are unfolded.
So like,
which is the same way you do it, I'm sure.
That's the same way I do it. And I was wondering, because like I'm running into a problem where I might want to make, instead of just scaling up my rocks when I want bigger rocks, I may make three big sizes of rocks. So like one big giant rock, one medium rock, and one kind of smaller rock. Like we have like moss that grows on the rocks, and it's all like stylized, hand-drawn looking stuff. So it's like the amount of moss on the big rock looks less than the moss on the, because if I'm just scaling it up, it's like this weird visual, and then like the so I'm like deciding, right, that's actually what I'm doing right now, is like thinking, okay, maybe I want three sizes to pull from rather than just one size rock fits all, because the textile density is, can be kind of
that's
messy.
Kind of what I've done. And particularly, like, another thing that I've done is because I have very little rocks, but what I do is I turn them, and I use the bottom, like I rotate them, etc. And then I realized
the ancient trick.
The ancient trick, but it's actually a trick that I'm kind of getting away from, because what's happening is that when I bake my light maps, those vertices, those faces, they are still rendered, and they are part of the baking, which basically leads to kind of like larger light maps than they need to be. So for that new game, for example, my rocks are all kind of halved, so that they don't have like faces that are going in the ground and that are going to be calculated in the light maps. What I do, however, is that the rock, I have a texture that is kind of like somewhat bland. Not very precise. And what I do is I stack all the UVs of my rocks in one position, so they all share the same texture, and that allows me to save a lot of room on my atlas.
That's what I'm doing as well. So it's like, I was really curious what you're going to do, because like I wonder how pixel games do that, or handle like scaling of objects. So I feel like a lot of times I have to recreate new assets rather than scaling up. And it's like for trees, for instance, like if I have these trees that I want to reuse, but like if I scale them up, it really kind of kills my visual textile density, and I'm kind of like,
So for the scaling of the trees, like that's also another one where I will accept that my textile density is going, but I never scale them more than, like, I don't know, 130%. Like, so it's barely noticeable. You really need to kind of like pay attention.
Yeah, that's true. That's and I have trees that I need to make gigantic versions, so I need to I'll have to make another texture for it. But yeah, it's cool to know that's what you're doing now as well. Textile density.
If you have any questions, reach out privately. I can share some of my texture sheets with you, so that you get an idea of how it's done.
Yeah, textile density is something that a lot of people don't know about. It's like or understand, so it's kind of funny.
It's and to go back to the school stuff, it's not necessarily like I try to talk to my students about optimization, but and that's the problem, with like engines like Unreal 5. Everybody's like, oh, I don't need to learn that anymore, and it's like, well, actually,
you do.
Yeah, not everything's like, I wish we could use Nanite on mobile, but it's not going to happen.
So for example, the other day, like I was like, I have a studio class where I have like character artists that are making the characters, and like one of them like kind of like had like 200K police for the character. I was like, this is not a game character. And then I wanted to talk about, like, so when they retopologize them, they retopologize them with like an automated tool, and I learned how to retopologize my characters by kind of drawing my curves, with Topogun or something like that. And I wanted to kind of spend some time telling them, like, the topology should be like, if the character has a muscle, for example, the line of the topology should kind of support that muscle, so that when you animate, that muscle deforms correctly.
Did you see? Did you see the big drama on Twitter yesterday about that exact same topic? You know Delaney, the girl who tweets about like game optimizations and like modeling.
Her stuff's great.
She got like, there's a huge controversy that just happened about that exact topic, and she was talking about that, and then some guys came in and were like, no, you don't need to do that, and it was a big. It's funny that you're bringing it up now. It's pretty funny.
No, you need to do. I mean, even.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm agreeing. I agree with you. I just thought it was funny.
But that's the thing, right? And that's I'm hearing that more and more, and like with Nanite and Lumen, like for example, baking the light maps, like that's a big thing. So lighting is obviously something that is very important to me, and when I talk to my students, and like a lot of them, they are like. It's always the same question. Did you bake your light maps? No. It's like, but with Unreal, we don't need to. And it's like, yeah, you do. Like,
you still do.
That's performance that you can use for something else, for like better particles or like faster gameplay or all of those things. But it's difficult sometimes to kind of like get people to do the proper thing the proper way.
yeah, that's the thing. That's a huge thing about like the whole Nanite and like Unreal 5 thing is like, you don't have to do that, but you can do. There's even more you can do. Should still optimize stuff. That means you can make your game even better.
Yes, and I think that a lot of people like are not interested. That's the reason why I'm kind of like really like digging, making things the old school way, because everything is optimized. Like my game, like there is not a polygon in my game that is there without me knowing about it. Like I mean,
yeah, exactly. I'm the same way. I'm like, nah, delete that.
There's like a lot that we don't make our own models though. That's part of our problem. There's so much I wish we could get rid of, but there's automated tools I bet I could make to make it happen.
Well, but those automated tools, though, they usually do a really piss poor job. Like I've seen like those.
I'm sure like, they do, but it's money and time versus quality, you know.
No, it's true. It's true. Like for example, I use 3D Studio Max as my modeling tool, and like they have like that Pro optimizer stuff. And every now and then I'm like, okay, well, I want to kind of see, and I kind of like do the Pro optimizer, and I always end up being so disappointed. It's like, yes, of course it's less polygon, but it looks god awful. Like the topology is all over the place. So anyway.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. I constantly go through my like whenever people give me models back from on my team, I'm like, I'll like check. Is like, did you delete the back face? Did you delete that? Did you delete this? Did you delete, you know? And then sometimes the thing that really gets me, Cyril, is when people leave like you know, when you make a cylinder and then the caps are like triangles or whatever. At a single point, that drives me nuts when people leave those edge loops there. I'm like, please just delete those edge loops, and if you want, you could draw some, you know, make the little or just leave it, you know. Drives me insane.
No, there is a lot of shortcuts, and I mean, I'm not going to say that my topology is perfect. It's far from being perfect. Like I'm lazy as well. I'm lazy as well, but at least I bake my light maps. And my characters are rarely under 1,000 polygons.
Yeah. Mine are in my game. They're only 2,500, but we're going for like a little bit higher.
Yeah, we have characters that are like 30,000 polygons.
What? How, dude? How are you? I don't know. I need to go play your demo and see how it performs, because I don't understand anything that you're doing. I really don't understand how any of that runs at frame rate.
Yeah.
I mean, in some areas we have to rely on space warp, unfortunately, but outside of like in the main city, it's usually fine. We turn it on and off based on what is happening.
The thing is that usually fine is not going to get you anywhere on the quest, though. Like they are very. No, I mean,
you say that, but I've also played Blade and Sorcery, and that game runs at 7 frames per second, literally all the time.
No, I mean, I'm just like, please hear me out. Like when you're going to go to QA, because you're going to go to QA, like if there is any part of your game that is under 72 frames per second, they are going to flag it as a blocker. You won't be able to launch. Like that's a kill. Like
how the hell did Blade and Sorcery get through then?
I don't know. I haven't played that game. What I can tell you is that for the 2 games that I released, like we had a few areas where we were like at 70 frames per second instead of 72, and that was a blocker. And without fixing it, we were not launching.
So I mean, the reason
Yeah,
probably like Blade and Sorcery got through, dude, is like because they're already in a stat like that. That game is like, a system
I think
seller,
really probably
right?
what it was that there's no competition. It's a big fucking thing. They needed a sword fighting game on the Quest. They didn't have one. That's the thing. But then again, even those small areas, though, it's not like we can't fix those. Optimization is something I'm very fond of. I love the process of chasing down where a problem is. So
No, it's and you have that. That's the but that's the thing, right? Like because I was also thinking like when we arrived with Stones of Olaf, we had areas, and it's like here is the thing. Did you? I don't know if how familiar you are with the game, but like in the island there is an area with like a little lake and then cascades, right? Those cascades have like a particle of water, etc. Well, the thing is that we have some transparency because we use a lot of pixels and things like that, like a lot of sprites. And for that water, we are using a transparent particle. Well, the thing is, like everybody, like the transparency on the Quest is a performance killer.
It's rough, yeah.
Yeah. So the thing is that when you're at the border of the lake, looking at the cascades, everything is fine. However, though, the people in QA, what they did is that they went in the lake, they put their head in the cascade, and then looked up. So basically, they would be receiving like 100 particles of transparent water that would be like taking the whole field of view, and suddenly the frame rate was at 50 frames per second, and it was a launch blocker, and we had to fix it. So that's the thing, is that even like kind of like edge cases, etc., like they are going to threaten potentially the well-being of your game.
Yeah, they're going to try to destroy your game. That's
yeah.
Well, it's actually called a destructive. Like so, that was very funny. Yeah. That was very funny because like we were with the QA and the guys at QA. I really love them. Like we got a great relationship. They were part of our team, etc. But so they played the game right for a week, 2 weeks. I think it's the first 2 weeks, and they play the game and they report some bugs, but not that many. And I was like, yeah, you know what, QA is pretty cool. I was pretty afraid of it, but yeah. And then the guy like sends us email. He's like, okay, so we've done. I don't remember how he called the first phase, but he's like, we are about to enter the destructive phase. And I was like, what the hell does that mean? And that's and then. I learned very fast, and basically they do not play the game as intended. They basically try to purposefully break the game, do stupid stuff. Like for example, the magic. We cast the magic, and we have like a nice little trail. When you do your movements. Well, they took the controller right in front of the headset, and they kept casting, they kept activating the trail in front of the headset, again, creating like transparency over transparency over transparency over transparency, and basically tanking our frame rate. On this one, like we asked a waiver from Oculus, and we said, listen, guys, it's either we remove the trails, or we make the spell look much, much less attractive, or we are going to accept that this is not kind of a normal behavior, and we are going to let it go. So there is a little bit of flexibility.
I'm very certain that QA is going to be a goddamn nightmare with my game, just because, like, I'm sure you see it coming too. RPGs are fucking enormous. Like, I'm talking like 30 hours of gameplay. So it's going to be a fucking QA nightmare. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. What am I going to do?
Have you played your game for 30 hours?
Not so far, no.
Well,
the most time I've spent in it so far is like an hour, maybe an hour and a half. But generally, the play sessions are like, to get through the demo. You can get through the demo in like 10 to 15 minutes. But like the full final game, like when you're in the city and you can go in any house and go and buy stuff and sell stuff and go and do a quest and get shit, just like in Skyrim. Now you can go out into a dungeon, pick up all this fucking shit, take it back to town, sell it, go to like your house and do whatever. Like that kind of shit adds up a lot.
So can I give you my sentiment on this?
Sure.
My advice for you would be to shoot for something much, much shorter, because the problem is that if it's a nightmare like, let's imagine that you have 30 hours of gameplay. That means, and you're going to go, you don't necessarily have a publisher, so let's imagine that you're going with the QA that is kind of like triggered by Oculus, which is 8 weeks.
Sure.
they are not going to be able to kind of get to everything in 8 weeks. And potentially that means that you're going to go to market with a game that could potentially have game-breaking bugs. And those game-breaking bugs, like once the players discover them, you're done, you're fried, you're toast. And so the thing is that QA is super important because they basically, what I loved about QA is that when my game, at launch day, I knew my game was solid. Like I knew that, hey, you know what?
If we have to even like pay an outside like firm to do QA, we will, because it is very important. But like scaling back is a non-starter because every goddamn forum, people are talking about how shallow all Quest games are, and that's the huge problem with VR. We are fixing that, you know. You could
do 15 hours and still be kind of like in the top 20% of the best Quest games, and that's still
20% is not good enough.
but
it's not good enough.
My thing is that potentially you're setting yourself up for like going to market with a game that may have the potential of being broken because you were never able to test it properly because you don't have the bandwidth to do that or you don't have the money to do that. That's the flip side of the coin.
I'm tired of testing my game and it's nowhere near that. It's only like it's likely going to barely hit 10 hours or something.
I've not gotten tired of testing our game yet. But yeah, like I said, if we had to, we would just like pay an outside firm to fucking do QA for us. Like we understand it's very important.
But you'll pay with what money? Like if you already don't have enough money to hire, like that's the thing. It's like this costs money.
We can get money for that. I based on where we're at, I guarantee we could get money for that.
Okay,
but yeah,
I mean that's fair enough.
It's things that are it's based on things that are important.
And do you the next thing, which kind of goes back to the question of like financing and price point and stuff like that.
Sure.
I'm not kind of like a VR power user, right? I really enjoy VR, but like my play sessions rarely go over 30 minutes, 45 minutes, usually under 1 hour.
I just ran a pool on that yesterday, and it basically the average play time for anyone was like an hour.
Yeah, that's pretty common. So, my goal very much for Heartlands is I want people to put on the headset and then not realize 2.5 hours have passed and their fucking headset dies. I want people to call out of work because they'd rather do that, play my game, than go to work. I want children to call out of school because they'd rather play my game than go to school.
You can still do that.
It is totally doable because I was that kid when Skyrim released way back then.
Yeah, but Skyrim is made by a team of like what?
Yeah, with
500
exactly.
Right?
They're a massive team, and you would think that something of this scale, like Justin the other day said, no one's crazy enough to be building what we're trying to build, and I think that's very true. But the automation tools that we're building to actually allow this to happen allows it to actually be possible. Modern game engines, like Oblivion, was built with a team of 30 people. And that was with old-ass ancient tools. You could build that same game today with a team of our size in probably half the time. We're not going to be as large as Oblivion, clearly, but we're still looking at a very large footprint of a game in general. The whole idea, like the reason why we're pricing so high as well, or intend to, is because there's nothing like it in the store, and the amount of content you're going to get for the price you're going to pay is going to be unlike anything else in the store, even from AAA publishers.
I mean, but is the content enjoyable though? That's the other.
Are games like Oblivion and Skyrim enjoyable? Is Morrowind enjoyable?
I don't know. I've never played those games.
The answer is yes, clearly, because they're massive. The answer is yes, clearly, because they're massive. Those are the kind of games you can boot up in the morning, play literally all day, not realize it got dark, and then go to sleep.
I'm just saying, is your game loop as the exact same as that, or
our weakest point is our combat, but we got to rebuild that anyway. But the rest of it, yes, it is that, and it feels awesome.
Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, to me, it's fine.
Especially exploration.
That's the beauty of it. Like my approach is the opposite. It's like I would rather make a 4-hour experience that is ultra polished, where like everything is, and even like the game. Like so, for example, like the game I'm working on. I'm shooting for like maybe 10 hours tops. That's not going to go much beyond that, because I would rather, but that's also like you mentioned automation. Like to me, like all of those like those maps, they are like crafted by hand. Like there is, I don't have
like
any
all of
tool.
our interiors are crafted by hand, but we also use automation to polish them off and actually deliver the content that we would like them to be. Like the system we developed for interiors, I'm still very proud of. Okay, so like we have what we call like dummy items that we place down. And then based on who the NPC is living there, whether it's like a shopkeeper, well, shops are slightly different, depending on like what class they are, like peasant or upper class, what have you, and depending on like
you replace them.
Yeah, you replace things based on that, and then you have things that make the world feel alive, like curtains that open and close based on what time it is outside, and there's variation there for things like, oh, they fucking forgot that day. What like their food on their table changes based on how long it's been there. It's not going to be there the entire game. I might play the game and you might play the game. We might experience entirely different interiors, shit like that.
How did you manage all that stuff? That sounds like such an undertaking to me. It sounds so hard to like.
You just have a global manager for it.
Well, no, I just meant like coming up with all the stuff and be like, okay, yeah, this is.
Technically, that idea, I've been working on that idea for like a decade. That's how.
Okay. I was going to say, to me, it sounds like quite the thing to just.
Also, I'm very good at spite. So someone told me in 2017 that system was impossible. So I prototyped an early build of it out in literally the next 8 hours until I saw them the next day at work. I was pissed. I'm very good at spite. I will program the shit out of something out of spite.
I hope. I'm looking forward to it.
So am I.
I want to see. I've never played a game like that, and
yeah, sure. Now the demo doesn't have any of that stuff. To be fair, it has like a randomization of like.
So how close?
Sure, go ahead.
How close are you to finishing your game?
The plan is to release the early access, like the paid beta, in December. We should be finishing up our internal tests of. Well, except for the fucking bug we just found tonight that might set us back a week. We were supposed to be done with our internal testing of like our like really, really punishing our quest system at the end of next week. That might get pushed back another week. We'll see.
So, but wait, content-wise, like, so your early access, like, is it what, 10% of the game, 15, 20, 30?
Early access is probably going to be like the goal is you'll have like the whole city to explore still, or like at least the one district one of the districts we're launching with. The city has 15 districts. We're launching with 3. We may or may not revisit those other districts. We have like lore reasons why they might be closed. If we do revisit those, like it'll be a DLC. But you're going to have one district and all the interiors, which are already done, and then probably around 20 to 50 quests that you could actually reasonably do in the early access beta. Then we're going to have early access beta 2 as well. That's going to be probably a bit more than that and fix bugs that are obviously found during that. And then final launch later on with obviously.
So what's a quest example? Because I'm just trying to comprehend the game overall.
So like one of the things that's being worked on right now is like we have a merchants guild, right?
Uh-huh.
And there's like a whole storyline there that's like 10 things. So we have like individual quests like that. It's like 10 individual quests packaged into like a, I don't remember the exact details of the quest line, but it's like 10 quests and it starts out like you meet these people and they're like, hey, there's this problem over here in this area of the city and they're doing whatever, and then you do these quests and you get up in the ranks or whatever, and then you can like towards the end of it you get like discounts at shops or whatever, if I'm remembering correctly. But then simpler quests obviously is just stuff like you meet this woman crying near a well and you're like, bitch, why are you crying? and she's like, oh, my I dropped my ring down the well. Can you I heard it's dangerous down there. Do you think you can go down there and get it? And you go into like an underground section and you fight like a goblin or something, and then you find the ring and you can either keep it or give it back to her, whatever you want to do. And then there's more complex stuff like my dumbass husband ran off to join some bandits. So you go to a cave and then you can fight the bandits and then you can choose to either like kill him or convince him to come back. That kind of shit.
So are those quests like written, like are they like on a document somewhere they're just like written out, or are they like some kind of like auto-generated type scenario, or
We have a writer that's working on all kinds of stuff.
how are you managing 30 hours worth of
We have
quests?
a quest builder that handles all the actual information inside of the actual quest.
I'm not worried about that. That's not what I'm worried about. Like just coming up with 30 hours worth of questing content.
Well, I have one whole dude on staff for that, and then my audio engineer is also helping with that. So it's like 1.5 people. That's pretty much all they do is just write quest shit.
And then do you have an automated way to implement those, or are those something like what's your quest system like? Are you like blocking? Do you have to like block the quests out, or like?
So like the actual system of like implementing dialogue and implementing like quest stages and stuff, all that kind of stuff. We probably could automate it if it was written in a certain way. But right now, it's just you go in and you add the quest stages, the dialogues, whatever. And then the actual backend system creates all the assets in Unreal necessary for it to function properly in our system. So like you input like the dialogue and the text and it'll show properly on the cards. And like if you try to put in like a sound file for like a voice thing, it'll warn you if there's not like a lip sync file. You can generate the lip sync file, automatically put it in. And once you get everything listed, you just attach it to a character as a quest, and then our quest system that runs actually on the game instance can actually update, where you are in a quest.
To hand play like that ring you're talking about? Does it just automatically get spawned in the world, or is someone having to like set that up manually? Or
that's something where someone has to go in and place that item down. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So the thing is that the basically you're kind of like mimicking a little bit the guild quests that you have in Morrowind, and where like you have the guild of fighters, and but so like these to me like Skyrim, like all those games like Skyrim, Morrowind, Oblivion, they really have like 2 levels of quests. You have like the storyline quest, the main story quest, and then you have like what I call like the filler quest, right? Which are basically like for the completionists. Like for example, I played Morrowind, I played Oblivion, I played Skyrim. I finished the 3 of them, but I did maybe 10% of the filler quest. I usually like
that by definition is not finishing, then, is it?
Well, I finished the main storyline.
But the main story of those games is the worst part. Like, then again, I guess it really depends on what kind of Bartle kind of test person you are when it comes to the 4 types of gamers. But like for me, the most important parts of those games is the side quests. Like there's the main quest, sure.
I don't disagree. I like side quests.
Yeah, people don't stay for the main quest. They come to it because, ooh, look, a demon popping out of a portal. But they don't stay there for that. They might be like, oh, cool, a main quest. Like, when you get to the town and you talk to this person and they're like, how did you see that? The fucking desaturation and all that kind of shit. But then you might go out into the town because they're like, oh, you should probably go and talk to this person. But then you'll find a shopkeeper and, you stay for the actual side quests. Yeah, that's really what draws the player in. To me, we're talking about like main quest like length. That's probably a few hours at most,
Okay, and so how far are you into those ones? Because they are kind of like the core of your experience, right?
Yeah, like they're still in the process of being written. Like we have all the interiors and stuff. It's a lot of the stuff needs to be implemented into place, which is where a lot of the later half of our development here is going to be. Like we'll be implementing quests up until probably March of next year, probably.
So you're basically, because like your early access is going to be mostly the repeatable side quests and things like that, but not necessarily a preview of your storyline. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, basically. Like the idea we're gonna have like you'll get introduced to the main quest, but then at some point it'll get stopped off, and you'll just be able to do the quests in the actual city. So,
so in that respect, you're very much building a game like a MMO, right? Where like the main storyline is not. I'm just saying. Well, the main storyline is not really the focus. The focus is like replayability and kind of keeping people engaged with the world and the type of stuff.
I would say it's more of an Elder Scrolls-esque title, but yeah, kind of, because that's what Elder Scrolls games really are.
So to me, that's like because I'm kind of thinking about your game makes me think about mine, and that's going to be the main point of differentiation. It's like, to me, I want to tell a story, and yes, we will have some repeatable quests, like some like material harvesting to kind of compose your spells, etc. To kind of like have replayability, but to me that's definitely not the point of focus. The point of focus is to kind of tell a strong story.
I would also like to do some kind of automated questing stuff too, like if we can, like just how Skyrim did.
Yeah.
Problem is, I thought their system was very poorly implemented. Like it's the whole thing, like it picks a location you haven't been before and like puts an objective there. But those feel very samey very quickly. But we haven't developed anything for it. We haven't developed anything for that yet. But I really want to be able to do that at some point, because if you do manage to do like 100 or 300 quests we end up having, and then you buy your fucking player house and you complete the main quest and everything, you could still go out. Like by default, if you leave the city without a quest active, it just takes you to a random dungeon. Like that's kind of what our idea is right now for that. So then, because like when I leave a city in like an Elder Scrolls game, unless I'm going directly toward a quest object, my general thought is I'm just going to go out and fucking explore, and that's kind of the whole idea.
So
we can definitely automate to a degree.
I was going to ask, are you making auto-generated dungeons, or what's the?
We want to do them to a degree. Auto-generated dungeons have the same problem. They feel very samey after a while. So we want to try to find a way to do kind of a smart generation thing there, where we have like a defined layout where we have, and then we could define different enemies and areas that are automated, and then different kind of set pieces that would be there. That system's not there yet, though, so I can't really speak on that too much. A lot of our other systems are fully functional, but that kind of stuff's not done yet. That might end up being DLC. Who knows?
That's actually a game. I've worked on a game like that 15 years ago, where they were asking me to make a randomly generated dungeon, which for me was anathema, right? Because I'm a level